Hi, this is Charlie Zeiss with Only PVC Pyramids. Today's a very exciting day for me. I've been hoping to be able to give this video for a long time. This video is going to show you how you can make your very own Russian PVC pyramid with parts that you can readily obtain from Home Depot for about $30. I've been looking for a long time for ways to bypass the original connectors that I made to make these pyramids back 3 years ago. They were very expensive to produce. The molds were expensive to make originally, and that's been a major impediment to bringing the prices down to the consumer, both for the kits that I sell for furniture grade pipe, but also for those of you who are do-it-yourselfers and didn't want to spend the money that was required to buy the connector kits that I sold separately from our full pyramid. So I'm very happy to say that over the last 3 months, I've been able to devise alternatives to the connectors, and we'll be going through how you today can take advantage of that and make your own pyramid for, as I say, about $30. Now, we're going to be following an outline today that I want to go over. It's up on the screen now. The first step, we're going to talk about this in 7 steps. The first step is your shopping list. We're going to go over what you're going to need and how much it's going to cost. The next step is going to be picking your pyramid size and cutting your pipe, then making the corner assemblies, how to assemble the base, connecting the top assembly, placing the bottom vertical pieces and the optional couplings into the T, and then finally placing the top assembly pieces into the couplings. So we've got a lot to cover today. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to start with step 1. Okay, we're back with step 1, which is going to be our shopping list, what we're going to need to buy when we go to Home Depot to get our parts. The first thing we're going to need to get is pipe, of course. I wanted to show you what 3/4 inch Schedule 40 pipe is going to look like. At Home Depot, they use 2 different manufacturers, so your pipe may not look exactly like this in terms of the lettering. But here's what you're going to want to look for. 3/4 inch Schedule 40. This is the pipe you're going to need. So keep this in mind when you go to Home Depot. The next part that you're going to need is the T. We're going to be talking about this in greater detail, but this is a T. This is a 45-degree elbow. And let's see, this is the cap that we're going to be putting on the top of each of the pieces of the vertical pipe in the pyramid. And finally, this is an optional external coupling. And we'll get into why we need that later. But if you decide you want to make this pyramid more portable, you may find it advantageous to actually cut the vertical pieces into 2 pieces, and you would be able to reconnect them when you got to your new location by using this external coupling. And we'll talk about that more. So now what we're going to do is to show you what these are going to look like at these fittings at Home Depot when you go. So up on the screen first is the picture of the Schedule 40T that you're going to want to get. And you'll see that you're going to want to make sure, because they have some that go down in size on the T part, that all 3 sides are 3/4 of an inch. We've got the SKU number there, and that's important for you to check on as well. You can see these are 59 cents each. The next, the Schedule 40 45-degree elbow with its associated SKU number. And then next, the cap we're going to put on the top of the pyramids with its SKU number. And last but not least, the optional coupling for the 3/4 inch, along with its SKU number. So now we're up on the page. We've got a summary of all of these pieces that we're going to need. To start with, these prices are going to vary a little bit, perhaps throughout the country. I know if you go to Alaska or Hawaii, they're going to be a lot higher. But so these prices are the ones that I paid in my local Home Depot in Pennsylvania, and yours may vary just slightly. But here's a list of everything you're going to need. You're going to need, first of all, 10-foot sections of 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe. The SKU number is there, 193712. You're going to need 6 pieces of that. At my local Home Depot, those cost $2.71. So your pipe in total is going to cost $16.26. And by the way, folks, this is sufficient for all of the sizes that we're going to show today, anywhere from a 6-foot to an 8-foot pyramid. If you decide to build a little bit bigger or smaller, you may want to check your dimensions to see if you need more pipe or can get away with less. Next on the list, the 3/4 inch T. The SKU number is 187941. You're going to need 4 of those at a unit cost of 92 cents. So those will cost you $3.68. 3/4 inch 45-degree elbows, SKU number 188026. You're going to need 8 of those, and their cost is 59 cents for a total of $4.72. 3/4 inch Schedule 40 cap, SKU 188174. You need 4 of those at 59 cents for $2.36. And those are optional, by the way, but I would highly recommend them. Finally, you're going to need some sort of a top connector. Now today we're going to do this assuming that you're using a zip tie. So those zip ties come in bags of 20, I believe. You're going to want to get the 11-inch zip tie. You can also just use a piece of string that you run through, and we'll talk about that later, a rubber band or a bungee cord. But for this example, we're going to be using the zip tie today. And those will cost you probably about $3 for a small package. So we estimated anywhere from $27 to $32. So you can see, depending on the type of top connector, you can get away for as low as $27 and possibly up to as high as $32. The other 2 things that you're going to need that you may not have at your house, if you use the zip tie or the option of putting a piece of string to hold it together at the top, you're going to need a drill bit to drill holes in the top of the pyramid or vertical pieces, and we'll show you how to do that later. You'll need a drill bit somewhere in the neighborhood of 3/16 to 1/4. I use a 3/16 inch bit for drilling my holes when I'm using the zip tie. And then you're going to need some kind of a saw to cut your pipe with. There are inexpensive PVC saws that you can get for about $5, but any fine-tooth saw that you have around the house, or a Dremel or anything else, will work just fine. So that's it for step 1, what you need to go get at Home Depot. We're going to be back here in a second to start up with part 2. Okay, we're back to discuss step 2 in the process, which is how to pick your pyramid size and then cutting the appropriate pipe lengths for that dimension. So if you look, we've now put up a schedule here that shows you various pyramid heights from 72 inches or 6 feet up to 96 inches or 8 feet in 6-inch increments. So the first step is to figure out roughly how big a pyramid you want to build. As I said in the previous section, the pipe and the materials that you got at Home Depot, if you used our shopping list as it was stated, is big enough and sufficient to build all of these pyramids. So in order to figure this out, if you haven't done so already, go look at my video on how to orient your pyramid to magnetic north, because size and the base, outside base length are going to be important for figuring out how big a pyramid you want. That's outside of this discussion, but in the second column next to the height is what's called the outside base length, which is the maximum outside diameter or width of these pyramids. So when you figure out where you want to put the pyramid, make sure that it's going to fit while you orient to magnetic north before you make your decision on which size pyramid to make. But once you've done that, we can continue on. Now today we're going to be using the 78-inch pyramid as our test case, but you can use any of these. You can see that for a 78-inch pyramid, I want to make sure that I've got enough room to orient to magnetic north and still be able to have a pyramid that's going to have an outside square base length of 43¼ inches. So once that's done, we can start the process of cutting our pipe. Now, if you'll notice at the very top of the page, and this is going to be true for all of the pyramids that we're making, look at the important note. All pyramids also need, in addition to what we have in the chart, 8 pieces of pipe about 1 5/8 inches long to make corner assemblies. And we'll get into that later, but just remember that in addition to the base piece and the vertical pieces, you're going to need to cut 8 pieces of pipe 1 5/8 inches long to help make the corner assemblies as we proceed on. So with that said, using the 78-inch as an example, you're going to need 4 pieces of for the base, and those base piece lengths for a 78-inch pyramid, I've already predetermined this. We're not going to go through any math today. All we're going to do is tell you what size that piece of pipe needs to be. And so you need 4 pieces of pipe 33¼ inches long, and those will comprise the base pieces of the pyramid. Now, with respect to the vertical piece, we discussed this in the previous section. You can make the vertical pieces out of 1 single piece of pipe, or if you want to make this a bit more portable, you can make it in 2 pieces of pipe and use the optional external coupling that we showed in the previous section. So depending upon how you want to do that, if you want to just use 1 vertical piece, you'd cut that piece 80 1/2 inches. So in other words, you'd need 4 of those for the 4 sides of the pyramid. However, if you want to make this with the optional external coupling, you're going to need 2 pieces of 40 1/8 inches, in addition to the coupling, which itself takes up 1/4 inch. And that, of course, when you add those up and add 1/4 inch to it, equals 80 1/2 inches. So that's the methodology that you use. If those dimensions are not appropriate for what you want to do, at the bottom of the page, I've shown you how to figure out other heights as well using the following formulas. The base piece lengths are always going to be the height that you desire divided by 2.058, and after you've done that, you subtract 4.65. And for the vertical piece, you take the height of the pyramid that you want, multiply it by 1.0574, and then subtract 2. So that's the way that these calculations are made. Oops, my kitty cat is up here. We'll be back in a minute with step 3. Okay, we're ready now for step 3, which is making the corner assemblies for the base of the pyramid. As I mentioned in the previous section, we're going to need 8 pieces of pipe, 1 5/8 inches long. And so I've got 2 of those in my hand here, and I'll show you the basic configuration of each of the corner assemblies that you're going to want to make. So for each of the 4 corners, you're going to need to make one of these corner assemblies. First step is to put the 2 pieces inside the T, like so. And then it's a real simple process. You just push on the elbows on each side and get them in as tight as you can, and then position them in such a way that the base pieces of the elbow are basically straight, and then put the T in the position that's roughly pointing about 2/3 of the way to the vertical. And that's all you have to do. You need to make 4 of those, and then we're going to be ready for step 4, which is assembling the base. Okay, we're already up to step 4, which is assembling the base. What you want to do, if you look at the picture I put up, this is an example of the finished base. You're going to want to put the 4 corner assemblies in their approximate locations on the floor around you, and then take the 4 pieces of pipe that we've cut for the base. And again, for the 78-inch pyramid, those are the 4 pieces that are 33 1/4 inches long. And you're going to want to insert those into each side of the corner assembly. And you're going to want to end up with a rectangle that looks pretty much like the one that we have up on the picture, with the T's facing in a more or less vertical position, pointing up into the sky. So that's all there is to step 4. We'll be back in a second with step 5. Okay, we're up to step 5, which is connecting the top assembly of the pyramid. For those of you who are just using 4 vertical pieces and not using 8 with the internal coupling, you're going to take the top of 4 of those 4 pieces, and you're going to want to drill a hole, and I'm going to show you in the middle here in a second. If you're using 8 pieces, take 4 of them and do exactly the same thing. Now, what I'm going to show you, I've got a drill bit that has already been pre-drilled a hole through the pyramid. You can see some other holes here earlier. Before I went to Home Depot and got the cap, I put it a little bit higher. But here's what you're going to want to do. You can see that by putting that cap on, I've got enough distance here to put the zip tie through. I've drilled these holes about 3/4 of an inch down from the tip of the pyramid. So what you're going to want to do with your drill is drill through 180, straight through on all 4 tops, so that you can put your zip tie through in the next step of this process. So what I'm going to do, I've done that already for all of my pipes. I'm going to put the tops onto each of the 4 pieces of the pyramid, vertical pieces, so you can see how this all looks. And so now the next step is to go ahead and actually put this together with the zip tie. So I wanted to show you what the zip tie is going to look like. We didn't talk about this, but this is the option that you'd want to use. I'm using these ties. They're 11-inch ties that I got at Home Depot. 11 or 12 inches is going to be fine. And all you have to do to assemble this top is to, and this is why these zip ties are so cool. It's very easy to go ahead and put this in and thread it through very easily with a 3/16 inch hole. So that's what we're doing now. There we go. Sorry about that. Once you get all 4 of these put in like that, what you're going to want to do is cinch this back through. And what I'd suggest is at this point, do not tighten this real tight. Just get it to where it's holding, and then we can come back and tighten this up later, because you're going to want to set this once you've got the pyramid put together, and that way you'll know exactly how tight to cinch it. So that's it for step 5. We're ready to move on to step 6, which is placing the bottom vertical pieces and the optional connectors into the base of the pyramid. Okay, we're almost done. We're at step 6 now, placing the bottom vertical pieces and the optional couplings into the T. Again, we're using, in this example, we're going ahead and cutting each of the vertical pieces into 2 pipes and using that optional coupling. So what I'm showing now in the picture, I've placed the 4 vertical pieces that we didn't connect together for the top assembly into the T's at the bottom of each corner of the pyramid, and then I've subsequently put on the external coupling on the top of each of those 4 pieces. And so you can see in this picture that's the next step, and pretty simple. And now we're ready for the final step, which is placing the top assembly pieces into the couplings. Back in a second. Okay, 7th and final step, which is placing the remaining pieces of the top assembly into the couplings. It's a real simple process. I just start one by one. I hold the top assembly at the top and put one piece in at a time until I'm finished. And then once I've got the pyramid completely put together, as I mentioned before, when using the zip tie, I don't cinch it up until I've gotten to this step. So now that I've got the pyramid completely put together, go ahead and cinch up or tighten up that zip tie to where all of the 4 pieces, including the top caps, are touching each other, and put a firm pressure on the zip tie to make sure that each of the 4 pieces are touching at the top. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and clip off the edge of the zip tie if you'd like with a pair of scissors to give it a nice, clean, finished appearance. So that is it, folks. You have built your own pyramid for about $30. If any of you have questions about any of the process or other questions, please feel free to contact me. And thank you for watching, and you have a great day.